Hmm. Hmm. I wonder. I wonder. What's shaking, everybody? Okay, so this is just a broadcast. As it says in the box, this live feed is a broadcast, not a debate. It's a safe space for all folks who happen upon it, subject to the object, which is moi. And I'm pretty sure the name says it all. I'm Angus Wright. I also go by Angus By Design. It is Sunday, February 15th, 2026 at 3:19 p.m. My goal, so I'm pretty proud of myself now that I'm actually thinking about it. Okay, vitamin E. Oh my gosh. More vitamin E. Better to have some more than not to have enough. Vitamin A. Take one tablet twice a day. I have misrun out, so I'm freaking happy. Putting that in my box. Okay, so let me show you. This little pill is a pill that I'll need to take forever. In some form, as long as it works for me. To determine if it works for me, I have to be able to communicate with a team of experts. And as I take it, to ease my acid reflux, because I ran out, and before running out, I actually had to use up the last of some less effective meds. And why did I need to do that? Well, because I'm only one person. But even in this little trip to the pharmacy, which I'm very proud of, because I got there on time, which means I won't have to suffer through. I still have to coordinate all these meds that are still not correct. And there's evidence to show it's not correct. But you know, I get told tough shit a lot. Maybe not in those words. But when I have specific needs, like for medication, I get told, well, we did the best we can, or we can't do that, or yeah, we will do it, but it doesn't happen that way. And unfortunately, I have to coordinate with many professionals many times. And I'm like death from 1,000 paper cuts. I'm like, we'll do this again and again until we get it right. Because my medication just the same way as your medication is critical for how I experience life at any given time on any given day. And you know what? I've been judged for the medications that I need. I've been judged for the medications I can't have. I've been judged for the symptoms that I experience. I am judged for the emotions and the reactions I have and the long term exhaustion from not being able to have things coordinated. And I get judged for the way in which I show up, the way in which I have audacity to be 100% me every day. So, but I show up every day, regardless. So if you are a person who needs to show up, take space, demand something, feel free. I'm gonna sit here and eat my sandwich, live and indulgent like on this chapter in this channel. I've been going live on the TikTok, which is pretty cool. Because that's a whole other platform. But the thing that remains consistent is me. You know, I'm Angus Wright. I also go by Angus By Design. If you Google me, there's no masks. There's a good chance you've seen or heard or felt or thought something of me that had nothing to do with me because it wasn't something that I did or said. I experience a world through my upbringing, through my workplace, through my community, through choices I've made since 1976, where people think that their characterization of me and or the role that I play in their life is something that they should have control over. And their narrative has been wrong, is wrong, and will continue to be wrong. Simply because the world operates with or without us. The difference for me is that my name, my intellectual property, my participation in real person, places, and things, and world events, history, other people feel like they can just turn it into what they want to turn it into. And just the ultimate truth is nobody has the right to do that. Everybody has the right. Every person who's in Canada has the right to live by the laws in Canada. Just like everybody who's in America gets to live in America. Everybody who's in China gets to live in China. Everybody who's in Australia gets to live in Australia. For those that don't get to live there, well, there's a billion reasons and seasons and ideas. I don't need to come online and churn all of that up. I get to come online and I get to be who I am. If you're Canadian, if you are in other parts of the world, you'll know about Tim Hortons, the hockey player, and Tim Hortons, the coffee shop. This isn't about my love or my disdain or my whatever about Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is not a lifestyle branding tool that I co-signed for. For me, I have Tim Hortons experiences where I know and I care deeply for the people. I respect their jobs. I respect that they're doing the job. I respect that they deserve to be respected. But that's not what I observe. Often I observe service people getting yelled at, talked down to, made fun of, having expectations that aren't realistic. And then I go online and I get to see messages across Canada that are really just racist. It really just feeds into just stuff, energy that's not mine. I've never ever agreed to that. So if you see me eating or drinking Tim Hortons, I'm not here to compete or compare. I've never ever asked anybody to pay for my Tim Hortons or to see me as a brand ambassador for anything. I've certainly posted about Tim Hortons before. I've certainly had social events there, met people. I talk about it all the time because I'm a consumer just like you. So, and consumer, you know, when we think about the word, right? It can be customer. It can be person consuming. Maybe I'm consumed by something. Who knows? I'm just a guy eating a sandwich that I got on a special. I have the wrap. I've had different versions of the wrap. App or wrap. Speaking of wrap, this is a wrap. See? It's a farmer's wrap, no sauce. Why? Because I have a personal belief that sauce is so gross and that people can put sauce on something and it be like, mwah, chef's kiss. But in fast food, I find people just really put too much. So instead of worrying about all the things, I just, let's go no sauce. I have dietary concerns, right? This here is a rap book. I didn't write it. I don't own it. I own that copy. I'm a certified practitioner. That hasn't got me anywhere. If you want to really mess with your own head, go ahead and try to learn something new in an environment where people don't seem to understand that there's been an evolution. Or maybe they forget that when the people wrote it, they wrote it because they didn't have all the tools that we have now. So if I want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. Because even the person who wrote it sold the rights to it. Right? Does that mean that I care about them any less or that I'm any less inspired? No, I continue to be inspired. The person is living proof that the efforts that they made in their recovery paid off. Because when they planted the seed, probably back in the 80s, well, now it's like a full-blown thing that the whole world shares, including me. So, I mean, I'm happy with rap. That's the family rap. You know, when I was first learning the tool, the first step is to take a course or do a workshop. I was like, oh my gosh, this is finally what I need. I just need people to understand that I just need to be. I just need to occur. So if you scroll back, that's all you're going to see evidence of. Me participating. And being participated with. So it's not my job to constantly explain. I owe nobody an apology or an explanation for anything that I've ever posted. And if I have named names, or if I choose to name names, then, you know, rest assured I don't care what scrutiny it falls under. Some people have social media and they share things from other people. Depending on the platform, you might be a follower, you might be a subscriber, you might be a reader, you might be a supporter, who knows? A truther, like, who the F knows? Who cares? In this environment, you're an observer. Because my reason for being is mine. And if I'm here, I'm here. And if I'm there, I'm there. And if I'm over there, I'm over there. So if you think that I am going to allow a different standard for me versus somebody who shares an affiliation with me, then I guess you're as crazy as stigma would say that I am, right? So here we are. Because I've certainly had the word crazy said about me, and said to me, and called at me, and yelled at me by people that I knew and know better. And I'm not responsible for the behaviors or the choices or the actions of others. So, it simply is what it is. Now, what you'll see here and there and everywhere is the classic human behavior of people who don't know better, or people who don't put themselves out there in the same way, how they will try to pass themselves off as the authority or the victim, right? You won't see where, even in a world where we talk about toxic behaviors, where people will be able to own that. I'm thinking, for example, right now, throughout Ontario, for example, there's something called Project South that is a real world event in Canada that is a matter of security not only for people but also for people who work as police or work in the towing industry, or who work in transport, or who have insurance policies. Project South is now a province-wide investigation. Well, first of all, my friend, if we're being investigated, I want to be part of the discussion. I want to be part of, well, why? I want to know if I am part of some sort of investigation, or if there is some sort of threat to me. I want to know what it is. Now, is that my experience? No. So, I guess if people are just tuning in or turning on, really it's about, how about you go research that and then form an opinion for yourself. If you want to know, in my experience, why I find it to be an exciting subject, it's because, there are certain law enforcement folks, past, present, potentially future, who have an opinion about me that they really shouldn't have. And yet here we are. And why do they have it? Because they've either been convinced, enabled, or supported to have that misinformed opinion of me. And you know what? I get mistaken for a lot of things in a lot of ways every single day. but it doesn't always carry the same stakes. So, if your intention is positive, then be positive. But be positive. If your intention is negative, be public. Right? Because our actions speak louder. You know, I'm on TikTok, and there's a guy on there who lives in my, or nearby in my city or town, or at least he did the last time I saw him in person. And his name is Shawn Moore. SHAWNMOORE. Okay? And Shawn Moore is also a bus operator, or was at some point. I know him from 2007, from the first group of bus operators. He has online profiles. Sausage 35, and then if you ask me, it's a play on Sausage 5935. So why am I, Angus, talking about him on Sunday, February 15th, 2026, when really I haven't been a bus operator since 2018 due to very specific actions on other people's part. I haven't been in a union meeting, so even though I attended all of them leading up to this point, I haven't been in a union meeting since the president at the time, Clint Crabtree, orchestrated an arrest. Since then, it's been proven in 2 courts of law, provincial and federal, that it was unfounded. All the police reports between August and September and so on, none of them indicated that there was any concern on my part. So why should I have to continue to be affected by the choices within those circles? Well, it's because my union doesn't really like to give choices. Or if they give choices, it's not really based in any one sort of grounded reality. It's sort of like motivated by whatever has happened, or motivated by whatever they perceive to happen or they want to happen. So that's why, here you're going to learn how I show up as a union rep. And I am operator 5946. I am a bus operator in OC Transpo in the City of Ottawa. Since 2007. I am a member of the ATU 279, the current ATU Canada, and ATU out of the United States. Now I say Washington, I think it might be Maryland, but who knows, right? I've never actually physically been there. So I don't really have anything that is pressing other than, while using TikTok, a person who knows who has bitched and chewed and complained, a guy who talks behind my back in a different way than he speaks to my front, a guy who has messaged me over the years, begging for forgiveness, putting in a truce, like all stuff that has nothing to do with me. Never has. When I signed up to be a bus operator, I applied for the job, I qualified, and every single day since I've wanted to just drive my bus. In 2018, history repeated itself, and other people used tactics to take me out of the bus because of their belief system. So I am for peace. I don't own a gun. I don't own any weapons. I don't buy into weapon owning or whatever. I love practical tools, so like I probably have some knives or this, that, or the other that would have to do with the activities that I'm doing. If I'm camping, if I'm gallivanting, trying to, do crafts or whatever, but no weapons. In my opinion, right? Canadians' use of guns, very different than America. I've never ever brought that to recovery circles, social circles, discussion circles in Canada or the US. I know gun owners, and I also know a couple of them who I don't believe should be gun owners. I don't believe if people knew that they would have achieved that ownership. I certainly know what it feels like to have a concern for it not to be addressed. And so, if my life ends up being an inevitable report due to violence caused by others and ideas that are not my own and practices that have nothing to do with me, well then this is just a document of an eventual outcome. And if you know me, I don't really shop in or hang out in worlds where an outcome is determined for me and not by me. So Shawn Moore, operator 5935 OC Transpo, whether he works there or not is none of my business. But today, Sunday, February 15th, 2026, Shawn chose on his device under a profile in which he engages with and keeps private. So I don't even know what else he posts about. All I know is that I was tagged in a post about autism, making fun of autism, making fun of police interactions, and a person who had experienced abuse or SA or what have you. outside of Rob Reiner's house, like in an American Post, like that had nothing to do with my values or ethics, or certainly has, it doesn't line up with the oath that I swore. But he did that in February of, or in December of last year, posting, "Hey, is this Angus? LOL, yada yada yada," and then hopping into a repeated pattern where he shows up whether I like it or not, regardless of how many times or how many, right? So what did I do? I included him in my well wishes. I'm reading a book called The Tibetan Book of the Dead, a guide to living and dying, each chapter, and then I pull an animal oracle card for reflection, and I look in the chat box over there. I think there were I had 134 people in the course of a 60-minute practice. So 133 people plus Shawn Moore. So, if I were to hazard a guess, Shawn Moore, who, at least at one point in time worked in the environment I worked in, we went through training together in 2007 here in Ottawa, Canada, as a bus operator. Here he is today, showing on up in my TikTok. So, and I don't think he stayed around for very long. I would guess probably long enough to take a screen grab so that he could make some form of funny joke or something at my expense. I'm guessing he's the kind of guy that probably has like a private WhatsApp group. He's probably part of, some chats and stuff where they send memes. So, what does that say? If it's been since 2007, since we known each other, and then, Shawn certainly had words to say and actions that he took when it came time to other bus operators and people in my environment. People like George Abood and John Vidra, and Trevor Boutelier, and Greg Walton, Nick Hauser. These are guys who put their signatures to things. Right? That's not on me. That's on them. And most of them, they don't come around anymore. So did they get wise? Did they learn a lesson? Was it never about me? So what is it about me that Shawn Moore, OC Transpo bus operator, 5935, sausage 5935, sausage 35, person who's been on Facebook, person who probably is on Instagram, what's up? So it is what it is. But I'll tell you right now, I don't think it's very nice. I don't think it fits in with the oath that we shared as bus operators. I don't think it fits in with the vision in which I see our employer, the City of Ottawa, OC Transpo, under Mayor Sutcliffe, not Mayor Jim Watson. Under Mayor Sutcliffe, whom I think is actually like kind of showing actions that are refreshing. I mean, this mayor is having an intentional, like, 200 days acts of kindness. He's leveraging his media career and his journalism and his business knowledge to encourage more business and more engagement. He's having conferences that involve marginalized communities, but not in that old creepy way, but in a way that's like, maybe we're onto something. You know, if I'm just giving an opinion, which I can give here, I would say that sometimes the listeners of radio stations like CFRA take up way more room everywhere else simply because of the story they tell themselves. And so, you know, if we become writers or journalists or actors or bus operators or volunteers and supporters, I don't think it should be based on that kind of behavior. The internet's a big place, and I've been vocal and out there for a very long time. So I wish peace on to Shawn Moore, Sausage 35, Bus Operator 5935, whether he's there or not, because I've seen a lot of bus operators come and go in many, many ways. So I am a proud member of a union that apparently has more than 199,000 people. So if you're a member of that union, there's 198,999 other people that you can follow. If you can't find them, well, you gotta ask them why they're not speaking up. And the other ultimate reality is that what I have said, what I say, or what I will say is nobody else's business but mine. And I'm under no obligation to be a secondary character or a forced narrative or an alibi or a target for any of the choices made by people, regardless of if they're under my roof, if they're in the block I live in, if they're in the barriers and borders of Centertown, if they live in Ottawa or Ontario or Canada or North America or this planet. International in 2026 is a click away. So I think what we're learning is nobody's above the law, including, and now especially in Ontario, the law. So if you are involved in policing, please know that I support you. I don't support what I have had happen to me. Right? I don't support any idea that a few bad apples, blah, 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 in any case scenario. I did and do support police unions. I think that police and police services all around the world deserve not only funding, because we face a bunch of threats, but they also deserve to not have to be police officers or law enforcement or military veterans or whatever. There does come a time where we just get to be. I have receipts of the methods and the actions and the evidence in which I navigate my life. If you want to do your research in Canada and in North America around paramilitary, around transit, transport, around policing, around crime, around humanity, go do it. You'll find out what the stats are. This place, these spaces, me as a person, every single day that I wake up, I'm gonna do what I want, where I want, and how I want to do it. If somebody has come to you and said, I'm the mayor, I'm the authority, I act on blah, 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 blah. Well, that's on them. I've reported what I know. When coerced, I started whistling. But please don't think that I only started after the damage was done. I am a lifelong volunteer, peer, supporter, action taker. If I talk about intimate partner violence in 2026, trust and believe that I can call on and recall from every incident since 1976 when I have had to help people not only through what they were going through, right? But also in escaping what they were going through. I've seen respites and homes and housing and support options for women. I don't see that right now for guys. And statistically speaking, right, this profile, just right here on Facebook, 75% of my readers, or 75% of the people who engage here or watch or lurk or do whatever, they're men. They're men between the ages of 18 and mostly 55, I think would be the most. But they're usually guys between 15 and 35. So I rather them know that they have support. They have obligations, they have accountability. That's part of it. Part of it is being comfortable enough to let people just be, right? But also to gently love them enough to let them be accountable. Because we only recover what we know, right? So that's been 49, almost 50 minutes of a conversation. If you are interested, so I read chapter 4 of the book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's a guide. I got the book from the Ottawa Public Library. And I think April-ish of, it was due back, I think April-ish of 2024. Due to my lived experience and the life in Ottawa, I ended up paying the fine, and now I own the book. And so, the beauty thing here is that, the law in Canada says we're innocent until proven guilty. But, it also says that once we do our time, once we pay our dues, we should be afforded our rights, right? So that's the world in which I swim. So, it is what it is. Shawn Moore can be Shawn Moore. I'm not responsible for Shawn Moore or any of his friends or his ideas. Just like I'm not responsible for what ATU 279 has done or does, what Jim Watson chose to do in his career, what politicians do, past, present, and future. But I know where I drew my line. And I know what I go through now. So, I would say stay sober, stay safe, stay connected, but stay grounded in the reality, right? So if you have a bone to pick with me, get out of here. I never invite that. If you have a bone to pick with my ideas or my thoughts or my feelings or what you think of me, well, again, 2026, move on. If you're a member of a union or my union, I don't care if you're the tippity top of the tippity top, and I don't care if the union is like the biggest friggin' wild cowboys of wild cowboys. Like, I'm not the one. And I'm not the one who's responsible. So as those cards fall, as investigations roll out, direct your worries there. I'm not worried. If I get approached, if I get asked, did you see here? Do you have info? Then I'm going to be who I am. I am going to cooperate because the values, ethics, and laws that I support me and people like me. I am one pixel on a jumbotron of over 8 billion pixels. And we get to shine like the pixel we are. And if we can bump up with other pixels, we can make a beautiful rainbow or image or reflection. And if I'm the only one in Shawn Moore's life who says, listen, you've been told, you're being told, and ultimately, I think there's a lot of people who are responsible to tell you, but this isn't the place. This isn't the place to pop in and then continue gossip, continue hatred. I'm not the one, never was. I never ever deserved that. from day one when I showed up as a bus operator, 5946, in a uniform, size 66 pants, 6 extra large shirt. I should have been able to do my job. And it's never ever been me to say that I'm not willing to do anything as long as I get to respect who I am. And I'm a member of a union, and I work for a federal organization. And I think what we're learning now is the culture that has been, perhaps a culture that continues to be, but a lot more people who are trying to steer us towards a happier, healthier place. And all I see is the continuation of disrespect, handing our jobs away, and inevitably losing everything. And I don't have to let the membership take that. I don't have to let my neighbors here in Ottawa or in Canada or in transit anywhere around the world. Nobody needs to take abuse from anybody else. And if you want to swim in those circles, then go be there. Go be there. That's not here. Okay? So, peace, love, lollipops, Tim Hortons coffee, Coca-Cola, t-shirts, books, cards, whatever rolls. But this was a fun practice. It's been like about 57 minutes. I'll probably download this and post it to my YouTube. So if you go over on to Angus By Design on YouTube, you know, today is Sunday, February 15th, 2026. There are at least 1, 2, 3 organizations who should worry more about what they need to do than what they need to cover up, as far as I'm concerned. So if anybody's running an investigation, be it in their own little Angela Lansbury keyboard cop kind of way, or if you're the full shebang, I would say start there. Peace, peace, peace. That's all I'm about. All right, y'all. Have a good one.